Okay, this will be the Reddit search for fellow TIs. I've been wondering to see if I can find other sources to find others who are out there. Um, Usually, like if you go through the algorithm searching for others on YouTube or whatever platforms like that, usually they have it fixed to where it's a bit complicated to find them. So I want to see if maybe I can actually turn up some different results through Reddit.
有一位来自云南的朋友，他给我们节目打来热线电话说啊，他最近呢经常可以听到一种奇怪的声音，而且这种声音呢已经导致他没有办法正常生活了。这个声音非常的可怕，到底怎么回事呢？
In case you guys wondering, I figure out how to have the chats pop up to where I can see them easily, so they're not just going to flash in the corner of the screen, and, with a split second and I end up missing. So I'll see them this time, in case you guys are wondering.
他可以喊你跳楼。
我们是搞高空作业的嘛，他就会喊你朝楼上跳下。
他喊跳下去，跳下去。
会的。跳楼，喊你去撞车。
让你干嘛？跳楼撞车？
是这样的。
那一套声音在哪儿啊？
或者声音在楼层里面，就是在24小时的5分地点，就能听到这个声音。
你觉得会不会有人对你下了狠手？
就是利用这种东西来控制我的。
什么东西？这是一种仪器吗？你见过吗？
Hello and welcome. In case you're wondering, I will be able to see your comments in the chat this time. Earlier, I had it to where it only showed for a split second, and some of them I missed.
太简单了哦。
Doesn't really say who joined the
这大脑里
chat,
肯定有个声音。
一定有的，每天晚上24小时就有这种声音。
安静，安静，安静，安静。谁也别发出声音啊！你们听到了什么？那个人声音出来了吗？你听到了吗？听听。
This whole thing is like 47 minutes. Okay, so we saw that. See what other TI content we can find on Reddit. Wow, this thing's taking its time to load. Oh, wow. This wouldn't be the first time I've seen something like this. This one's 59 minutes and 0 point.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the auditorium for the penultimate event this evening. Now, I've got a few things I want to say. First of all, we have Dolly. It's Dolly Indigo Star. Is she going to be on this evening? In which case, the event is going to start a bit later. In fact, the doors are going to open at 10 a.m. Oh, God. Yeah, so you get a bit of online.
Oh, wait, this is mirrored. Because YouTube account associated with this video has been terminated. Wow. It's like someone's got a live stream. That's mine. Or that's either that's the current one going on. Okay. I've already seen that video though, so there's got to be something new. It's like they're posting repeats. Is there a system implemented to force those that, according to the system and its implementers, are considered undesirable and deemed targets, despite the targets not being in trouble with the law, to undergo particular ruin-oriented sufferings? Is this targeted individuals being gang stalked? Question mark. Let's see what the comments have to say about this. This is a reminder to please read up on the following. Looks like they got trolls in here too. I can't really see who joined the chat, but hello and welcome. I will be able to see your comments this time, even if they won't be flashing like they did before. To where the last time I was only able to see them like flashing, and I only like just barely caught a glimpse of that. That happened while trying to also play a video game, so I figured this would probably be a little bit more befitting. I'll be able to see what everybody has to say, whatever their questions are, and then I can just go at it from there. Yeah, I guess I was right. Even Reddit has its share of trolls on it. This was posted a month ago. This one's got at least around 30 comments on it. Just for obvious reasons, if I ever say the word, that's if you look closely over towards the left hand side of the paragraph where it says sheriff, the word below there, I'm just going to use a key phrase. I'll just say GSD is an abbreviation for it. There's reasons why I shouldn't say some of these things out loud, as there are other people who could possibly be overhearing this. So with that said, let's continue. Okay, so GSD me for the fun of it before I was put in the program acted like they were going to hit me with their vehicle several times, follow me with a gun while dressed as an ordinary citizen to later get into their sheriff vehicle, etc. I would have reported it, but the whole department was after him. The sheriff at the time is now in prison for destroying evidence on a murder. The place is extremely corrupt. At the time, I thought it was best to ignore them and focus on moving away, but I didn't think it would result in him getting in a federal torture program as he believes they submitted his name to a fusion center for the fun of it. I believe they also use their military connection to submit the name to the CIA and get access to the DEWs to torture. My first experience with the DEW came from an ex-military and ex-sheriff deputy, though I believe he was hired by the department to work undercover to harass me from across the street. Conspiracy film I was working on, it was on my Google account. It basically said government is evil, that we can have a society without it, and the specific steps for you to take to bring that into a reality. They made it clear that they had high level access to his account as they filed without causing a timestamp to occur. Ultimately, I believe it all leads up to the worldwide cult that uses government as its main tool to control non-members, so it doesn't hesitate to go after anarchists and Chris, however you pronounce that. It is also made up of, especially at the lower level, angry, bitter people who are looking for an excuse to torture others. Ain't that the truth? They don't care about people exposing what they're doing online. In fact, they do it deliberately themselves, exposing their own crimes to demoralize the public. But what they won't allow is people like yourself telling people how to fight them. Anyone trying to organize a real resistance will be banned, and worse. That's how you know that any organized resistance group is set up by the CIA. Otherwise, they wouldn't be allowed to exist. That's why they don't want computer programmers working on encryption codes which could be used to organize real resistance against them. Make your documentary, make 100 CDs, then pass it around, then each person makes a copies and passes to their friends. For direct communications, you have to return to radio, just like resistance fighters used in World War II against the Nazis. Same enemy. For direct communication, you have to return to radio, just like resistance fighters used in World War II against the Nazis. This isn't the 1940s anymore. You tracking radio, especially when few are in use anymore. Okay, I gotta be careful with what I read. There could be trolls throughout these comments. If they could do it in World War II with the Nazis tracking constantly, we can do it now. CIA created QAnon to increase dark web traffic to hide their communications. We can do the same, increase CB traffic. They can't track every CB radio, plus we can lay false trails for them to follow, just like they do on the internet. You gatekeeper trolls are full of negativity, but not one of you offer suggestions. You're a part of the problem, not the solution. I kind of added my little part in there, which is true. If they could do it, okay, I've read that enough. They could do that now, use the radio to avoid detection. Why do you act like nothing's changed since the 40s? That might make the tech less viable today. In the 1940s, radios were still up there as peak technology, and yet allies would still depend on use carrier pigeons because you can't hack something that has no copies or encryption. Today, it's infantile technology. We can do the same, increase CB traffic. They can't track every CB radio. You already missed the boat, but why do you think they couldn't track a couple of dozen broadcasts? Or why do you think if you could actually pollute the airways, massively inflated broadcasts wouldn't attract an incredible amount of attention? Plus, we can lay false trails for them to follow, just like they do on the internet. A false radio trail, it's super easy to track where the transmissions are coming from and what you even falsely falsify for them to ignore you other broadcasts. Pointing out that you propose a terrible idea, one you could clearly don't understand, doesn't mean I have to hold your hand to something. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of mixed opinions going on with this. I think I'm gonna go to the next one. George Floyd, the organized setup takedown for real targeted individuals, not a falsified video. Now that I don't think I've seen yet. George Floyd, the organized setup and takedown of a real targeted individual, not a falsifying video. Organized setup. Okay. I've seen enough about this situation, but if there's other information, I'll bite. President exposes the. Oh wow, I can't say what that is. I think YouTube probably took that video down. I wouldn't be shocked. Yep, video's unavailable. Biden will place sanctions on target individuals, regime officials, including the Buenos Negros. The plans to bring internet access to Cuba. Interesting. These GSDs have been here for the last 48 hours, afraid for my family's safety. Please help. I am a TI. Is this person talking about the cats? No way. Oh, man. If you feed them, they're not going to leave, that's for sure. Don't know about cats, but dogs as pets are used, tested for collecting surveillance on targets. Sounds crazy, I know, but it's true. Eyes used as cameras. Now, I don't know, I don't know if that's an actual thing, right? I mean, maybe a person can implant a falsified eye that's really a surveillance camera, but that would be brutal and completely immoral to do that to an animal. Oh man, there's a lot of stuff I cannot read that's on here. These are not gang stalkers. This may be... Oh, wait, I said the word. This may be GSD's worst nightmare. They are God's creatures who may convert to a doggy bark instead of a sweet meow. I imagine they wish to be adopted, fed, and cared for. If you're interested in adopting them, leave some milk outside for a while until they trust you. You don't have to adopt them both. Why not give one to a friend or so? They may visit occasionally. One of the things, the best things that a lot of people don't know about cats is that they may, if you are at least aware of your surroundings, they make great silent alarms. Okay, meaning it's an alarm that if you're able to read your cat's demeanor, it's the way it picks up on different sounds whenever it hears stuff happening on the outside, you will know, and it will look into the direction of where it's happening at too. I was able to actually catch something that happened a while ago, and eventually, apparently, someone had their German Shepherd walking on the outskirts of the place I was staying at. I'm not going to give details as to where this happened, but he was able to hear that, hear something that I didn't hear, right? Because of course, when it comes to animals, some of their hearing of certain animals is very sensitive than humans, and it's able to hear things that, in other words, we wouldn't be able to hear. If you got a dog, chances are, I don't know about them basically using that against you. I wouldn't know because I haven't never experienced that before. But a dog does make another alarm if you're not used to the whole silencing thing, right? The whole silent alarm. But you see, the best thing about a silent alarm is that it gives you the element of surprise, right? Because in the end, if you have a dog, then, well, not only are you hearing that, but of course the potential perpetrator is hearing that too. And it's the same thing with even a regular alarm. But unfortunately, if you got a regular alarm that's associated using frequencies of any kind, what they can do is they can basically snatch and grab that, and what they will do with that is basically cloak it, and then it's the same thing with your garage clicker. They can cloak that. It's the same thing with your the keychain thing that you use for a car, which I don't recommend anybody to use, by the way. And if you got a vehicle, I suggest you get a different one that doesn't use such things. You see, this is why they wanted technology in vehicles so much, is because it gives that remote control to a third party. Of course, this becomes potentially dangerous with all these engines basically chipped and tracked everywhere, no matter how you look at it. If I was to ever get a vehicle of my own, I would have to just build it from the ground up. That includes the engine, all the parts, and even the body of the vehicle itself. The only thing I would even trust getting from a manufacturer is just the frame. That's as far as I would take it. But anything else has the potential of being somewhat compromised. And to take it a step further, I probably would get like some sort of locking tray mechanism on the bottom of the vehicle, so at least nothing can be implanted under the undercarriage anywhere. Oh, I wanted to give awareness about something too that I've actually recently found out about. If you guys are using the apps and you see something that pops up that's called what do they call that? That's a precision track tile or something like that they call it. What that is actually a keychain that has a trackable chip embedded within it. I can't make this up because I actually searched for what this stuff was myself, and that's what came up on the Google search. It'll say, if you're looking on this on Ramble, you'll see something that'll pop up called Tile Proximity Tracker. What that is a keychain that is actually it's a freaking keychain that's a tracking device, and anybody could basically potentially hide these things just about anywhere. They're super small. They come in different sizes, and just to see that pop up, like I've seen it show up in random areas of where I've been in, and I'm shocked that people just leave these things laying around. I would literally go to the areas of where these things would be at, and all of a sudden, like, there's no one right there. So it's like they'll hide these things somewhere. Could be either buried underground, hidden just about anywhere you could possibly think of. Anywhere that there's a potential hiding spot, really. I've encountered stuff like that and all kinds of things. And then people wondering, like, well, can someone embed a tracking device on a vehicle? Well, of course they can. But nowadays, I don't even think it's really necessary if they're basically chipping the vehicles now. Okay, I think I've seen enough of this post. Let's check something else out. Dr. John Hall on TIs with Ella Free. Let's check that out. Is it not gonna... Oh, okay, there it is. This is why I always use Brave for video. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to watch that. That is way too long of a video. Okay, the whole GS targeting GI's ecosystem is controlled opposition and proper... Wait, what? The whole GS targeted individual ecosystem is controlled opposition and propaganda machine. Well, yes and no at the same time, because you're going to have people who are definitely victims of this program for sure. And you're going to have people who are potential agents as well. I will never doubt that possibility. But let's see what else this says. I would say most CT Arcers are in fact in on it. This is basically a social engineering psychological operation. In a way, yeah, because if you have a group of people who are not really looking for actual solutions, right? What I mean by like actual solutions is they're mostly focused on the propaganda of things. They're not really going for any thing that would be like a conflict of interest to this program, right? Let's say, for instance, they're going to want you to be submissive going through this stuff, right? They're not going to want you to try to find ways of that would actually cut them off. They detoxing, shielding. The fact that if they really wanted to stop people from doing that, they would. And don't get me wrong, they probably have done that before. But things that actually will cut this stuff off, like immediately, instantaneously, oh no, that is a whole nother story right there. Like for instance, jammers, right? Why did they ban jammers in the U.S.? Because it was a it was an invention. It was a conflict of interest. They don't want somebody having the ability to block their stuff and to basically just completely fry their equipment. They don't want nobody having that ability. So of course they made it against the law. And it's other things that also become a conflict of interest that gets banned from the U.S. Stuff that would actually technically help people out, really. And when you see stuff like this, and you see that like they'll ban things that'll actually help people out, but then they will and some of these things that they ban, it's been cultivated into have an additional use, which is more on the negative side, and then they'll basically use that as the excuse to get stuff banned. Just like when they create scapegoats to basically do these massive shootouts to increase further gun control, right? They basically will select someone as a specific person of interest, try to get them to take that initiative, right? It could happen. It could be either way. Either they get gunned down or they gun down other people. I'm not advocating violence. I'm just stating a fact. And then you'll see how this stuff plays out. They'll basically exploit that to their advantage, trying to say, well, like, look, this is why we need more gun control and stuff like that. And in reality, it's not about basically trying to put a stop to violence. It's basically trying to trying to control the ability of people's ability, right to defend themselves. Okay, let's continue on. Why do you think the HS syndrome is being reported on now? Probably because it's too big of a thing to ignore. That could be it, or there could be other things involved. I was just browsing the comments on this Reddit post and saw a mention of TS, and I commented there. Missed the comment rule does not apply when reapplying this. Okay, I don't know what that's about. They are the hardest to abuse they receive. Just talking about what they experience, knowing people will make assumptions, takes strength. Meth addiction and withdrawal in a high pressure work environment. Diplomatic mail is used to transport drugs is well known. Okay, where is this going? Because at first they started off with one topic and now it's just different. Maybe we can find a video for that. Selection process gangs will be to explain targeted. Let's check this out. See what that's about. Hey Tess, how's it going? Don't take this the wrong way, but I can't. It'll be in my best. It'll be for the best for me and the person that I'm helping out that I don't disclose my current location, if that's okay. It's just for safety purposes. Not it's not just me, but it's for the safety of someone else too. So I can't disclose that. Once government is committed to the principle of silencing the voice, hold on, that might change. This I'll actually let play. Looks like I'm subscribed to this channel. Gang stalking something, it says. Let's see. Once a government is committed to the principle of silencing the voice of opposition, it has only one way to go, and that is down the path of increasingly repressive measures until it becomes a source of terror to all its citizens and creates a country where everyone lives in fear. Let's see what the...
In early September 2018, I completed what I consider to be my most important life's work to that point. It was a culmination of years of studying what may be the greatest immediate challenge facing humankind today. It was presented in the form of a video called 21st Century Mind Control Programs, Remote Neuromonitoring. In that video, I provided conclusive evidence of the existence of the latest versions of mind control programs, described the entire programs in considerable detail, and demonstrated how it has affected me and others. That video is long, over 4 hours, but every minute was necessary, in my view, because of the sheer scope of these illegal activities. Now I will begin to break down that video into subject groups, each with its own separate video. But first, a bit of a background summary about me. I am an United States Air Force veteran of 25 plus years of service with a career that culminated with a promotion to the second highest enlisted grade of E8, which is Senior Master Sergeant in the Air Force. My military career field was petroleum logistics, where I worked in all facets of the profession, from aircraft refueling to quality control, operations management, specializations in contingency, wartime planning, and finally senior division enlisted manager in charge.
I gotta give my input to this so it'll be considered as a reaction to avoid any copyright situations. As long as it's like a reaction live stream video or whatever, like we'll be all right. Okay, so it's to my understanding that it's a lot of veterans that get put on this program, man. A lot. And it seems as if like it's specifically going after people who would morally be there to actually stand against this satanic totalitarianistic system. So it's like they're trying to utilize people who would be on board with this whole transhumanistic agenda, and they're basically are specifically targeting people who are actually real veterans who gives an F about their country and its people. Right. This is why they go overseas to fight these wars, so people don't have to be, basically be exposed to the amount of terror that goes on out there. There's things that go on, things that these people see that you can't even possibly imagine, especially if you're out there on the front lines, by air, sea, or ground level. It all has its level of terror of experiences that a lot of people just would not be able to handle. Okay, Tess says, I don't know about him, but most posters on social media are fake or controlled opposition. I had my suspicions about that too. I wouldn't doubt that. There are some wow. There are some genuine ones out there. You just have to find them. But the algorithm on YouTube makes it very difficult to do that. Anybody like who they're most likely using for to basically either deflect or to basically push propaganda is usually put at the front fold whenever you search for for random topics through the algorithm or whatever, like the usual stuff that you would type in for looking for other people who are going through the same stuff that you're going through.
Nearly 60 personnel with signatory custodial control of assets valued at $30 million. I've earned a bachelor's of science degree in as well as an associate's science degree in logistics. I have formalized in logistics management, quality control, quality assurance, management. I listed all of those because collectively, the type of training demonstrates that I have been formally trained to pay attention to detail. After returning from active duty in 2004, I've held position as construction superintendent, construction manager, construction project manager. In each case, the formalized field was a relatively specialized sector: repair, restoration, and upgrades to aviation and ground fuel storage and distribution systems. Working primarily with aircraft fuel storage systems, I managed sometimes having signatory responsibility called responsible officer for multi-million-dollar government construction contracts. I also earned a license as a real estate sales professional in the state of Florida, where I worked as a realtor for a couple of years. Okay, that's enough about my background. I begin this first in the series of videos with the 5 phases of psychological terror and remote neuromonitoring, R&M for short, because this is the most important concept that every victim must learn if they are to have any chance of surviving this horrific program that terrorizes hundreds, perhaps thousands of Americans every day of our lives. If you are a non-victim, you may be thinking, why should I care about this? Or you may question if it's even real. I cannot convince you of anything.
That's true. Most people won't really take it seriously because it's not currently affecting them. But in my opinion, this is actually have already started targeting people, even if they don't realize it themselves. I mean, when it comes to these smart meters and when it comes to these cell towers, these satellites, hotspots, Wi-Fi, cell phones, all of this stuff that uses electrical magnetic radiation in some way, shape, or form, we're all exposed to that. We're all exposed to the geoengineering. We're all exposed to the fluoridation in the water and so much more. Looks like just got here, big ham. You should find more veterans that are targeted. Yeah, like I'm doing a search on Reddit right now just to see what more stuff I can find, because like if you go through the YouTube's algorithm, like you don't really find what you're looking for, and most of the stuff that you see through that algorithm is just what they want you to see and not the factual stuff that actually teaches you like how to fight against this stuff that teaches you how to gain countermeasures against this. And most of that stuff, like they don't want, they're not going to want a whole bunch of people finding that out, because it basically, it just goes against what they want. But anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, the reason why a lot of people should be concerned about this is that this is something that could affect anybody at any given time, even if it's not doing. Some would say it's not doing it directly. I'd say otherwise, because in the end, like, you're getting screwed over no matter how you look at it, even if you just aren't paying attention to it. And you know what they say, people are destroyed due to lack of knowledge. Stuff that they are not aware of on how dangerous they could be. They just go ahead and just think that the system has its best interest and that it actually wants to help them, and not be on more of the selfish reasons for like more for itself and less for others, which is the truth, because it is for more of itself and less for others. It's been doing that for quite some time now. And it's proven time and time again that it just doesn't want to change.
I can only provide information. I challenge you to examine my words, even to debunk my information. As to the first question, why should you care? This is how I answer that question in the original video. What does unlimited access to the human mind mean that you have not yet considered? The billions of dollars spent on these programs are not an exercise to see how much money. There's a purpose. To every thought, every word that enters any mind on earth. It is the ability to computer password. It is the know your bank account number and the balance. It is the ability to know your home security system password, making it impossible to detect intrusions when you're away. It is the ability to know your plans for a business startup, your invention, and all the steps you have planned to bring them to market. It is the ability to know your plans to buy or sell stock and the rationale for each action. It is the ability to know your favorite position in bed and who you would prefer to have to share it. It is the ability to know what you will testify in court, and more importantly, what you do not want to say. It is the ability to know what you really think about your mother-in-law, your co-worker, your boss, or your neighbor. It is the ability to know what you did last month, last year, or what you plan to do in the next 30 minutes, next month, or next year. It is every thought that you ever have about anything, every word that you ever say, every sight that you ever see for the rest of your life. The human mind has no firewall. So you see, the threat to every person on this planet is real. In my video, 21st Century Mind Control Programs, Remote Neural Monitoring, I also describe how each person is conditioned and indoctrinated into the program. Describe the horrors of each of the so-called non-lethal weapons, such as directed energy, and showed you how each victim is targeted, sometimes in areas with other people around, without affecting the people near us. I provided evidence of what they do to us while we sleep, how they control our heart rate and manipulate our dreams. I showed you the connection.
That's another good point he's making. They will, I use frequencies to try to disrupt that, because what's one of the experiences that I had recently, right? And this was, I think I wasn't using the frequencies this night when this happened. I had a dream where I was sitting on the couch and I was around some other people, but the thing is, I don't know who these people were, right? I was sitting on the couch with a female or whatever, and looks like Targeted Tony Los Angeles. What's the name of this guy's channel? It's right there. I'm probably gonna go back to the Reddit page, but gang stalking attention. That's what it is. Anyway, I was sitting on the couch and there was some female talking to me that was on the other side of the couch, and there was a freaking kitten that was holding on to my left hand or whatever, like right around where my wrist is, right? So it was hanging from there with its paws and everything, and I ended up waking up, and I kid you not, I could literally feel like what it felt to be like pressure points of where the kitten's paws were at immediately like loosen its grip, and then whatever it was causing that literally was literally traveling on the upper side of my arm. I could literally feel it moving. I kid you not. This happened a few days ago when I had woke up. Now, you got to be, I use frequencies to disrupt a lot of the stuff that they're doing, because they will try to program you when you're sleeping, because unfortunately, well, that's when we're at our most vulnerable, is the dream state, because, well, and in an instance like that, when you're asleep, you can't really defend yourself unless you got heightened senses and you're able to hear sound. Usually, having like old school alarm systems is probably the best way to go, not digitalized alarm systems. Let's say like sound traps, something that, let's say like you got a door, right, and someone opens it from the outside. Let's say you got a jar full of silverware, or a container full of silverware, something that would have to make noise for them to open that door, right? And as a result, that automatically wakes you up, and you're automatically alerted and ready to take action wherever it needs to be taken, right? With that out of the way, I don't want to ramble, so let's continue the video.
Between gang stalking, directed energy weapons, voice to skull, and other harassment techniques, and the subsequent far too common false diagnosis of mental illness. The video includes hard evidence of our government's research into mass mind control, including actual contract documents. My presentation also presents a logical argument for why these programs exist. In other words, what they all aim to accomplish. I take you through the advanced electronic controls, such as online programs, manipulations, integrated software features that make Windows accessible to their every desire to monitor everyone in real time. I take you through U.S. historical evidence of involuntary human testings and the horrors that have been admitted in declassified documents. Then I present absolute evidence of what they have done to me, from forced whistleblower to a myriad of elaborate traps and games. In each case, I offer hard evidence in the form of documents, real-time video recordings, as well as methodically documented personal observations. Over the coming days and weeks, I will release several more parts, each concentrating on a particular area of this insidious R&M program that has been labeled targeted individuals, likely by the same organizations behind the attacks. Targeted individuals, in my opinion, is just a diversionary propaganda term that shifts the focus away from the fact that we are actually unwitting victims of the remote neural monitoring programs, which is basically body hacking, human non-lethal weapons testing, and data collection that is subsequently input into behavior modification programs with the final goal of perfecting means and methods.
That is true. The same thing could be said about the word known as electronic harassment. This ain't harassment. This is torture, man. Can you drop the link possibly? Yeah, I can do that. Let me go here. Oh wow, that's getting low. Video source. I'll probably have to do that at a later time, though. But I'll leave it in the description for you guys to check it out. Or better yet, I think I got another idea. I can maybe post it in the chat. In fact, there's no link there. Oh, well, it'll show up in the history. I'll just grab that and let you guys watch the rest of that. Let me just plug this thing up. But the same thing could be said about electronic torture. I mean, not electronic torture, but electronic harassment, because it's not harassment, it's actual torture, right? So the different, you see, the different in heights of effects of both someone harassing somebody else is that that's at a lower level than someone who's actually blatantly torturing somebody. Let's see what else we can find here. Kratos Defense and Security Solutions Incorporated, headquarters in San Diego, California, specializes in direct energy weapons, unmanned systems, satellite communication, cybersecurity, warfare, microwave, electronic missile defense, training, combat systems. Looks like this from Wikipedia, or it's got a link to it. Huh. I often wonder what my life would be like if I wasn't a targeter. Well, in a way, I want to say this is probably a blessing in disguise, but it's hard to say considering the amount of the amount of negativity we all have to deal with on a daily basis. Can you imagine going through life not being aware of all the crap that's going on? You know, a lot of stuff that we wouldn't know. We would have walked into this stuff with, literally with a blindfold on. Some people would try to call us for ignorance. Let's see. Are you based in Maryland by any chance? I think I can't really location because my safety is here. Another currently. So yeah, I can't disclose my current locations. Can't though. Dead bear. Yeah, so the engineer that came up with the idea to push the problem away gets blasted all over social media, but the dude who solved the problem is a target individual, so we keep him in the dark. America pushing our problems elsewhere. Huh. They feed off our density. That is from each person's DNA is unique as you can tune into them due to us being fracture intense. Okay, this is quite interesting. I've watched a anime not too long ago. I don't know who is in the chat who's into anime, but the anime was called Steins Gate, and what had happened was this guy who's the main protagonist, right? He ends up hacking into CERN and he's finding out some information on how to build a time machine, but they get flagged. And what gets me is CERN had a freaking had like this blackout team that's similar to what these gang stalkers are doing, right? Infiltration, information gathering, and so on and so forth. But like some of these people, like when it got to a point to where it was a serious thing, like these bastards grabbed firearms and stuff. Man, it was pretty bad. And I'm not gonna go too far into details in case anybody does want to check that out. But like that really gets close to the whole situation revolved around CERN and all that. Okay, each person's DNA is unique as you can tune into them due to us being fractal antennas. So when a FOIA leak revealed the CIA's vulnerable access points, retarget individuals, how much more evidence do we need? Because those pyramids at Area 51 and those CERN rituals are just for show, I'm sure. Tyler in the Trenches used to be a real TI and wouldn't post good videos of evidence. I'm not sure if I can scroll down or what. I'm only going to be able to see like, maybe I can just expand it a bit. Oh, I can expand it. Awesome. Okay, let's check this video out.
You are a scientist working at the Department of Energy. Now, many people know that the Department of Energy is highly compartmentalized, let alone the, I guess you could say, very secretive compartments relative to that within the private contracting industry. However, let's make this very, very simple. You're a scientist with above top secret clearance, with some clearance into SAPs, which stands for Special Access Programs. You're a scientist working in the Los Alamos area in one of the deep underground military bases, and there are only 2 or 3 other scientists in general that know of the compartment in which you work in, literally and physically, and metaphorically as well, too, pertaining to the program and all that stuff. You are working one evening from, say, 11 p.m. till about 5, 6 a.m. in the morning. It's a little bit of a strange, work hour schedule, but as many people have said in the past, like, Bob Lazar, Lou Elizondo, you name it, there are very odd times and hours in which you are called in to do work, especially when it has to do with compartmentalization pertaining to a particular program. And all of a sudden, you turn around and you see somebody in the facility with you. And you go, excuse me, you're not allowed to be here. You don't know who this individual is. Like I said, only 2 or 3 other scientists, at least that you know of, know where you work, what you're working on, you name it, because you have to sort of cross-reference some research with them and you've been given permission. This person immediately turns around and they take their hand and they start motioning their hand and their arm in a circular sort of way in front of their chest. Next thing you know, all of a sudden, you wake up in your bed and it's evening time in your home and you look and you check the date and it's 6 days later, okay? Now, with that being said, you're going to see how that example comes full circle very shortly. However, today's episode is called Satan. Okay, and Satan stands for Strategic Alignment of Targeted Assets and Necessities. Now, harvesting loosh to reverse exo-atmospheric introns via their gang-stalking satellite, in brackets Russia, is the full title. Now, we will break down very fundamentally and very strongly what all of this means. However, I do want to say a couple things. We do have a Patreon. It does help support the show. We do everything from, one-on-one to group Zoom calls. We have 2 to 4 times per week members-only episodes. You can tell us episodes to do. There's content out there on the Patreon right now that will not be available to the public for at least another 1 to 2 weeks at the very minimum. We have exclusive interviews with people on there. So many other things as well, too. Footage. You could research with us in real time if you're on the Telegram and things like that. Anyways, I do want to give a shout out as well, too, to Leo. Brother, happy birthday, Leo. Your father is a phenomenal...
I don't know if I'll be able to play that. I want to avoid copyright if at all possible. Let's see what else I can find. Target individual dating app or TI matrimonial app. I've actually seen that in the Google App Store before, but I never even bothered with it. I figured it was obviously going to be used as a controlled opposition. Tell me, how many of you want dating app and matrimonial app? Oh, this was just asking about target individual dating app. Got 9. Target individual matrimonial app got 5. And okay to be single got 20. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being single, but the only thing is, like, you gotta have that everybody's got to have that that at least that connection with other other human beings or whatever, like that conversation or whatever. That isolation can be quite bad for a person's mental state, especially when you're basically being swarmed with individuals who want to do nothing but cast negativity on you on the daily basis, right? Like, you got to be around some kind of positivity from time to time. Kathy O'Brien, individual murder, ex Illuminati mind control victim. I don't know if can someone be an ex? Huh. Well, actual footage. Creepy black van. A Fresno, California resident John Lang predicts his death and warned it would be. Fresno PD checked out the image equipment they use in unmarked black van. Brenton gang stalking. Let's see. Targeted Tony, Los Angeles says, I'm isolated and single and it can be lonely, but I'm prepared to endure this alone until the bitter end. Now that's inner strength, and I'm proud of you for sharing that. You got to be strong during these hard times, man. It's not easy, but we get by, a lot of us get by as best we can, one day at a time. Based on targeting visuals, basic. Wait, what? I'm guessing this was a perk that got confronted, but then again,
don't hide now, cause I got the camera out on your ass. Go ahead, scratch your head, scratch your balls. I know you got some balls. You people trying to front now.
Is that gang stalking simulations video?
Act like they regular people. Y'all not regular people. Oh my God. That's fucking Dawn of the Dead right there, man. It's fucking
Dawn of the Dead.
That's they live.
Oh man.
These people will show up, and when they show up with red on. Now I'm gonna go over there and talk to them.
Okay, to people who are unaware, I'm gonna give you a good way of understanding certain things. They will try to, definitely endure, but they will try to use people to get you to purposely film them if you're using a single directional camera. And this is when they're trying to use their kids as a shield, as a part of the smear campaign. They will have people intentionally act out, and then they'll try to get you to basically, use that as a method of manipulating you to get you to follow them with the camera until they'll literally walk in the view space of where that parent and those kids are at. So as soon as your camera is in view of that, they're going to probably have someone that is in your blind spot snapping photographs or even taking video. This is stuff that they use along with the smear campaign when they try to smear your name or do any of these things. Gang stalking simulation is I don't know, man. You never know. I haven't really, I don't go to basically judging anybody unless I met them personally and seen what they've had to endure for myself just to see. But, the possibility of anybody being controlled opposition, that is out there, though. I will admit that as at least.
Hold on, y'all. How y'all doing today? I might as well come over and sit down with y'all and have lunch with y'all. You know what I mean? Since y'all here with me, you know what I mean? How y'all doing? This is a beautiful park, ain't it? Y'all from around here? We are, yeah. Oh, okay. Y'all got here fast. I just pulled up. I mean, y'all people are getting faster and faster. Like how fast do it take for that notification to get sent to your phone? I mean, I already know. Y'all must just go ahead and just talk. I already know what's going on.
Got the dog.
You know what I'm saying? There ain't no beating around the bush or nothing like that.
Oh,
how fast do it take for the notification to get sent here? Don't you know this is my first time being at this park?
Really?
Right. Now, I've rode past it a couple times. Yeah, but I never stopped because there's really nowhere to park. Right. So I said, let me just go ahead. I wanted to see. I said, it was an experiment. I said, I'm going to see how fast a red shirt person would show up. And it was like 5 minutes. Real fast. So y'all working.
Targeted Tony Los Angeles says it is in fact the silent dagger, aka Masonic white glove treatment. That's how law enforcement, firefighters, EMTs, ambulance, and all sides of society are involved. By then it'll be too late. Jess, you're probably MO 55 AD. I'm not even sure what that stands for, but yeah, I agree with that, man. What you said earlier. Okay, I've seen enough of gang stalking simulations videos. Let's see what else I can find. Only thing is I haven't seen that part though. Man, this reminds me of the incident that happened a little while ago. We caught this this female perpetrator, and we did the natural, the usual steps that you would take to defend yourself. Gathering the natural, the obvious evidence that you would need if the situation was to ever go to court. And she flipped out, and I kid you not, we left the area and just was just mind our own business at that point. But she freaking followed us with different plates. She swapped her plates and she literally just darted out. She had to have been speeding because the amount of distance we had gotten was pretty far out. And I think the speed limit had to have been like around 30 or 35 miles per hour or so. But if you start catching like their actual information when they're perpetrating, they're gonna flip out and try to play the role of the victim. It's an obvious attempt to try to gain, let's say, other people, just to try to basically paint you off. What they're trying to do is basically paint a picture, trying to basically paint you off in a negative perspective. Like, let's say, like they're painting you off to be some sort of perpetrator when in reality they're the perpetrator. It's sad, but people will use forms of manipulation like that, hoping that it'll build the scene, giving the public the wrong idea about you. Okay, it's okay. The Most High God sees everything. He trumps the God of this wicked world. He will avenge real TIs. Dr. Eric Kallstrom also speaks intensively on how is a dual Masonic program, as does heavy targeting. Targeted Tony Los Angeles says. Let's see if I can scroll down, man. Okay, yes, I think Father is going to put a twist in the story. I'm not a moose. You have to learn to grow, let's attack this and just bottle everything up until the right time. It's hard and easier said than done, but I'm doing it. For me, I'm able to get some of them to back off because I'll literally, you saw how gang stalking simulation, basically we had an outright conversation with them, right? I will, if they go way too far, I will do just that. I will start up a conversation, but I will have it in a way to where it exposes the obvious, right? For instance, how would someone who shows up in the random area, I basically swapped several different states, I swapped several different towns, and I'm not telling anybody where I'm going or where I'm doing, right? How is it that this random stranger knows exactly, is basically saying something that some other stranger said within my presence, word for word, phrase for phrase, right? So I would talk to them about this because I've actually spotted some of the instigators of the smear campaigns, and I have confronted them. I should have gotten their face on cam when I had the chance, because they really don't want that. Because once you catch those perpetrators, they have to go and report back to whoever hired them. Okay, let's see what else we can find here. YouTube accounts mirror target individuals' videos. Has anyone noticed the increase in YouTube channels mirroring and mocking victims' videos? I know of a few channels already. I mean, I'll mirror some videos, but I'm not mocking anybody. Each person's DNA is unique as you can tune into them. I've already read that, and I think I've already watched that. Scroll down a bit more. Gang stalking targeting individuals with roving wiretapping. Let's check that out. See what that's about. This video is private. Won't be able to watch that then. Haven't seen a video from Rfid in quite some time. Brain implants, their history, and targeted individuals. Let's check this out. See what it is. Now, whose channel?
Hello, my name is Carmen and I am a targeted individual, and today's subject will be the implantation of targeted individuals. And I know very well that there are some of us who do not believe to be implanted, yet we did with an organization radio frequency scannings, and we came up with quite interesting results. 99% of TIs that have TI symptoms would emit radio frequencies from several spots on the body, usually the same, like the ears and the back of the head, the top of the head, the forehead, the thyroid, the heart area, and also several spots on the spinal cord. And besides that, the sexual organs, the uterus in women. And
the scary part about this is that it's the evolution of how chips are being made. They got them now to where they can be literally injected via a syringe, you know, like one of those needles that the doctors use and all that. They got it to where you can chip somebody through that, through vaccination shots. They got it to where people can be chipped even from certain substances. Heck, even there was a video out about this a long while ago, and it was about how Walmart had some invisible substance basically on their tags, right? And when people would go to wear these tags or even wash the clothes that they bought from the store, the stuff would basically get all over the clothes at some point, and then whenever they would wear these clothes, it would get on their body. So whenever you put this, I think it was I don't know if it was a black light or fluorescent light that they used, the substance that was on the tag was glowing on their bodies. They came up with an excuse that saying that it was supposed to like deal with something as far as theft or whatever. You guys probably noticed some of the tags that they had on clothing a long time ago. They probably still use them. It's those big, bulky looking sand colored looking tags, right? But it's got the it's like a shape of a rectangle, but it's got like a bulge right at the top of it or at the base or whatever, and it's got a needle or a point that basically injects into that and clips on into the clothing. That goes through the alarm system. The alarm goes off. It's like they don't use stuff like that anymore. Now a lot of the stuff is barcodes, and now they even take the barcode thing up to another level to where they want to have that integrated on the product to where you can just scan the barcode that's on the product itself, not on the packaging, not on the tag, the actual food product. Let's say like you got an orange and it has a barcode on it. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Several other places, usually connected to places where people had vaccines or operations, and sometimes on the hands and the arms. But the most common places are the ears. And some TIs have up to 13 or more radio frequencies emissions. And why do they have that? What can emit radio frequencies? Because the body itself doesn't. If not, some microchip, some implant that transmits and receives information. And having ear implants is like having, a phone in your ear, and therefore through that, some TIs communicate with the perpetrators. And even if you think that an implant must be
Let's see. Jess got Hebrew says, no, but I share the faith they received from their fathers to Abraham. It's got a Hebraic. I don't know. I don't attach myself to those traditional concepts. I do best for Yahweh. And Targeted Tony Los Angeles says, so are you Christian or do you consider yourself Jewish? The thing is, for me personally, I have a way of going about certain things. I do believe there is a God. I do believe that there is a Son of God that has been looking out for us for quite some time, including now, by the way. However, I keep this in mind that the materialistic things of this world, as much as some of them can be symbolic towards a good cause and towards a reminder to the Most High, towards a lot of the good stuff of which we all fight for. Not even just that, but also freedom and liberty, right? All that good stuff. I keep in mind that any number of these things that is within the realm of the physical can be manipulated for the interest of the enemy. This speaking, of course, of the Roman Catholic Church, and of course the new age of how they basically twisted certain things, right? And how they're trying to involve crystals with religion. Now, that's a prime example that's trying to basically get people to either get them with the social engineering and indoctrination to basically get them to believe that the false idol who was going to basically come out as a spiritual figure, which is this is what this you could watch a call for an uprising to see how all that's turning out, right? How they're going to try to use certain tactics to deceive people, and that's exactly what they're doing. But for me, anything when it comes to that, like the way I look at it, as long as your heart is in the right place, you don't fall for any of this materialistic worshiping, any of this stuff that is satanic or anything like that, and you have eyes to see, ears to hear, and the knowledge to know better, then you're literally on the right path.
Pacemaker eventually were a tracking device. When they were first developed, these implants were developed for the purpose of messing with somebody's mind and brain. And already in the 40s and in that era, we had Jose Delgado that
Gang Stalking Simulation, man. I just played one of your
Saber,
videos earlier.
among other devices that he put.
I think someone was sharing some of them. But I'm just basically trying to find other ways to find some targeted individual content. And I've already explained, like on the live stream, that like it's like when you look through YouTube, it's like you only could find like certain types that are on there, and it's like it's not showing you the actual amounts of how much content is really out there. It's almost as if like it's purposely promoting content that doesn't really give you good solutions and good points of knowledge that puts you in the right direction on how you can basically get yourself a little bit more of an edge on how to deal with the complications of whenever this program hasn't basically invaded its way into your life, right?
In a person's or an animal's brain, and he could influence emotions and also behavior. He made a very famous experiment with a bull when he implanted this device in the bull's brain, and he could induce fear into the bull, so the bull backed off. And he also experimented on monkeys and cats and on human beings. And he came to the conclusion that human beings do not have a free will. And that's still a very popular idea in neuroscience today. Partially, he came to that conclusion because he would stimulate somebody's brain to lift an arm or to turn their head to right or left. And when asked about why they would turn their head or lift their arm. They would insist that it was their own choice. Therefore, Jose Delgado realized that people didn't know the difference between outer influence and manipulation and their own free will. And already at that time, these devices were used to manipulate people and their moods and their behaviors. And Jose Delgado was extremely
Okay, just for this for my little input on the chat, like I don't go out calling anybody that. Everybody has their opinions. You can keep an open conversation about that. There's nothing wrong with that. But at least try to give people the benefit of a doubt, because in the end, from my own experience, and I'm sure a lot of other people have had to deal with this themselves, if you're in a position, right, and you're not, these perpetrators can't necessarily get to you. Let's say like you're on private property or something, like they can't really necessarily get to where you're at. They're going to bombard you with frequencies, and they're also are going to try to turn you or someone else against you who is currently there. At least this is what I have experienced. They'll use this technology for voice mimicry. They'll snatch and grab your voice or someone else's and use that along with this, basically using that through the old V2K. They will even use memory blanks too. They'll do that and basically get you to either hide stuff from yourself or forget where you've left certain things or forget what you've done previously. It's all an attempt to basically cause inner conflict. So, you got to be wise to that. Don't fall for stuff like that. Check out the video Conspiracy Underground made on DB. He gives good reasons why and backs it up. And from my experience too, he's acted like it. Well, I'll leave you all to debate that one. I'm not really gonna touch on that subject. I've stated what I believe, and don't get me wrong. There can be people out there that are infiltrators who are controlled opposition, but at the same time, you got to keep in mind there are good people out there too. Never forget that.
Spoken about this technology, and he was a control freak, and he envisioned a future where soldiers would be remotely controlled. And during the same time, we had the first computers that were huge, and also the transhumanism ideas about enhancement of human beings with the aid of technology. But all these ideas, the vision about the psycho-civilized society that Jose Delgado had, led to a lot of criticism coming from, among others, the New York Times, but also from the leading scientists and professors and psychologists of that time. And therefore, this technology went underground pretty much. And during the 70s, the pacemaker was invented, but thereafter nothing until a few years ago. And it's because this technology went underground and was still sponsored and developed. And today you had thousands of patents regarding implants that do not do much more than stimulate the nervous system in different way and can influence a human being. And it has probably been tested and developed on handicapped, mentally ill, and also TIs. We have TIs since the 60s. We had the MK Ultra, of course, in the United States, but similar programs were developed also in Europe. So maybe the TIs of our time reflect the scientific development of interest for both neuroscience, but also military and so on of our time. And now we have all kinds of scientific breakthroughs about mind reading, about deep brain stimulation, and also this is a good thing, I believe, the cochlear implants that are developed for the deaf, and transcranial stimulation, and also mind control robot arms, where people with locked in syndrome that can't move their body can move robotic arms with their minds. And because
I guess that's what they call brain interface technology from what she's describing. Let's see. Okay, I guess I'll just continue from there on.
computers got smaller, and we had nanotechnology development during the late 80s, and throughout the 90s, also implants shrank very much. And we have this radio frequency scannings done on TIs and on X-rays, because these implants are so very small, they are not easily seen, and we basically can also think or assume that some of the implants are very similar to surrounding tissue, and therefore they might get quite invisible on X-rays. But during the 70s or so,
I really don't want to pause this, but I need to let you all know about something. I can't remember what the video was called, but they showed how sophisticated spy technology has gotten. They can actually have certain things disguised as an ordinary rock and have it laying on somebody's lawn, and they wouldn't even know what that is. It could be anything from a camera, a motion detector, what else? An audio recorder. Who knows what, right? Any of that stuff could apply to it. Anything, even from a disguised tree as well. Like they've done this with the with some of the towers. If you all are aware that they had some of them disguised as trees, didn't really do a good. In my opinion, some of them didn't really do a good job on disguising them. Like they were obviously not real trees. You could just tell just by the by its shape and everything.
there were some TIs that had X-rays done, and they were quite visible because these implants were quite large at that time. Now they have shrunken, they have changed, they have become more compatible with the body. Perhaps they are made usually of silicone, and some TIs have also rejected their implants from the ears and spine. And it's basically mostly because they probably had very strong immune system, and the fact that we usually also have the thyroid affected might mean that they are trying to lower our immune system so that we do not reject the implants in our body, because the body doesn't like them. They are devices put into the body. They do not belong naturally to the body. And these implants are extremely painful. They can not only harass TIs with voices and loud music and what have you, but they can also create impulses in the head. And I have a pain right now, right here. And sometimes it gets very, very bad. You know, it feels like the brain is going to explode, and it feels like your brain is cooking up. The headaches are horrible, and there is this blurred vision as well, and you can't see, or you can't take in information properly. So it's like you read, but it doesn't reach your mind. But the worst, of course, is the pain, and it can start in the spine somewhere at the heart level, and it rises up. But the first pain the TIs usually feel is in the back of the head, and the torture can get so bad that it is almost it's absolutely excruciating. It's like stepping into hell. And it goes on sometimes day after day, 24 hours a day, month after month, year after year. And I lived with this pain from 2010 until 2014, when I stopped eating sugar altogether and carbs in general. And I now have tolerable pain, and it's not there every day. Each day is quite an exception. Sometimes from the time to time I do have it, and the headaches, and also the feeling that I'm not really in touch with myself. The years are feel like the like you have pressure on your ears. And
Before I continue the video, if you guys are wondering about how to detox sugar, you can either drink just regular water. You can either drink a good amount of water to detox it. You can also make it more potent by putting some lemon juice in your water, mixing that in as well. That'll also help you detox sugar. And I think there was a third option as well, but I cannot remember what it was.
and it's quite a mess. And this technology is still unregulated, and it has been here for almost 80 years, and it is definitely abused, used for torture, and maybe also for experiments, because these implants do emit and transmit information. And because now in neuroscience there are these developments, like developing of chips that can replace lost functions like memory and so on. And you can not develop these types of implants or chips that can replace lost brain functions on sick people. You have to develop them on normal people, and thereafter you can use it to replace the missing part in somebody who doesn't have it. On the other hand, these implants always mean that there is a control issue, because somebody is there monitoring them. They connect to computers, and they work with radio frequencies, just like mobile phones and the internet, things like that. I'm not very into tech, but that's how I understand it from reading it. And whenever you read about implants, they do not
Hello, Saved by Grace. Hope everything's going well.
with
Minus the
other
targeting.
things. I haven't found any information about other communication style than radio frequency, basically. So antennas are always important, mobile phone antennas and so on, and even Wi-Fi. And because this technology has a two-way communication system, they can also use it for brain entrainment. So let's say that I am doing very well, I am fine one day, and I want to write a very interesting article, and I do it well, and suddenly I hear this zzz in my ear, and the brain entrainment frequency comes in, and suddenly I am staring at the computer. I forget what I want to do, and so on. And sometimes it's like there are some implants that I perceive. I could be wrong, of course, and it's very difficult to know, but I perceive them as very small, and you kind of feel them moving around, and especially in the temples here, and it's quite painful. And also here, and there is a way to read somebody's mind by recording the movements here, because while you think you unconsciously also have this movement here, and if you have some type of chips or microchips, nano implants around here, they can record that and read your mind, whatever you are thinking. They seem to be extremely accurate, and it happens in real times as well. So I think that this technology is an intrusion in somebody's life and mind and body that I don't think anyone wants to have, and because the influence can be extremely subtle, and because we do not know the difference between influence and our own behavior, this technology must be regulated. And it's not just for me. I don't know. This implantation thing might also be irreversible in some cases. Maybe if you get these things in you, you connect, and that's it. Especially since some of the implants are so small. We also found that Morgellons victims have the same frequency emissions, and it's a complete negation of your human life, human worth. And once you have this technology in you, it's not that a question about having or not having any free will. It's a question of not being responsible for whatever you do. And
Say Progress through Face says you need to build an EMP generator that disables RFID chips. There's an easy way to build one if you can afford to get the parts for it. Unfortunately, prices have really skyrocketed. You can get what is that? What do they call that? A 55-gallon blue drum. Cut off the top and bottom, or you can just leave the bottom on. I would recommend cutting both sides off though. Get enough copper to cover the whole thing. I've done this before, but I'm kind of pissed that I had to leave it. I abandoned that thing out in Tanya BR says good day. Hey Tanya, hope everything's going well minus the targeting. But what you can do, take a 55-gallon blue drum, cut both of the end pieces off the top lid, or get one that doesn't, that comes with a removable lid, and just cut the bottom off. Get enough copper to cover that whole thing. Buy a welder, because you're gonna need something with a high enough electrical capacity to run this, and have that get one that has like the clips to have them both connected for the positive and negative, and then you can plug that in and go through that. Make sure that when you get copper wiring, make sure it's got that enamel coating on it, that rubber enamel coating or that plastic coating that comes with it. Make sure it's got that, and then you can just basically have that fry your stuff out for you. If you're gonna kill this nano stuff off, you have to basically attack it from every point of the body, because what it's gonna do when you start treating your body from this stuff, it's gonna basically disassemble and move elsewhere, and then basically repair itself. And then once you stop treating that area of the body, it's just gonna go back and reinfect it. This stuff is definitely highly sophisticated, and it's definitely self-aware.
Because it could be influence, it could mess you up, so you can't have any responsibility, and that's too bad. And if the transhumanism movement has a success, and some believe strongly that it will, and in 20 to 40 years everyone will have chips in their brains being controlled from outside by an elite that might be free, a decision maker, or I think that it's it will be a very, very sad time for humanity, because you can't trust these people. They All they do, they are masters of manipulation and make believe. And if they do this to us, they will do it to anyone, and probably even their own mom and children, because they simply do not care. And probably somebody listening to this can't even imagine the magnitude of what is happening and how far this technology has come. And I don't understand everything either, because as I said in my previous video, they don't only use the implantation, that they use non-lethal weapons as well, or these frequencies coming in, and they also use drugs. And but for this mind control also to work, it's like they constantly have to lower your your self-esteem in some way, because if you do not feel that well, you are weaker, and then you are open to mind control, and therefore maybe there is so much torture we experience. And when I talk about torture, I talk about a pain that is excruciating and that never, 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 ever stops. And it goes on day and night. And it's not only that, other things, stalking comes in, and their chemicals, and you end up in a vegetative state, more or less. You can't see, you can't think, and you are in a horrible pain. It's like you have ascended into hell, and there is no way out. In a sense, you can become, of course, a little bit stronger. So in the end, you are like a soldier on the battlefield, and you just live with it. In another sense, it's a torture of the consciousness and the soul, especially. So it kills you from inside. It's not, you don't care so much anymore about the physical pain. It's basically the fact that it's killing you, it's eating you up from inside. And at the same time, you see that nobody cares, nobody understands, and you are also manipulated into behaving as if everything was all right. And indeed, some TIs did not do that, or not everyone knew from the beginning that this was mind control either. They thought that they are getting sick. It's not the first thing you are thinking about when you are exposed to these technologies. It's not common sense for most people, and you can't believe that there is such evil in this world, and you don't even believe that it will go so far. But let me tell you that these are animals that will take you as low as they can. And some TIs die, of course, they kill themselves, or they die of heart attacks, or other kind of mysterious reasons. Some are hit by trains, and so some also go out shooting. And we don't really like to associate ourselves with these TIs who are presented as mentally ill in the newspapers, because we're not proud, that some TIs go out shooting and get killed. It's both for the victims, but it's also for the fact that they get so weak and start doing that. But on the other hand, we also have to be honest and to actually also welcome the idea that the perpetrators might influence these TIs to go out shooting so that they can thereafter justify harder laws and more fear for psychiatry and psychiatric diseases, because if you have that type, because when people end up in psychiatry, they lose their credibility, they lose their human rights, they lose their humanity. And by having a strong psychiatric system, you can cover up a lot of things. And at the same time, you cover up a lot of crimes. And these are crimes really against humanity. And they should stop, and somebody should investigate it. Human rights organizations should have an interest in this technology, because it's not so hard to prove. You just need people who are willing to read radio frequencies and take tests that are reliable of our water, our body, our environment, and to see what's happening, because we don't really know everything, but we are definitely let's know. We know from the perps, from the stalkers, from their infiltrators, we know what's happening, and we know very well that it is real. They let us know from the very beginning. I think that when they want to initiate you into the TI thing, and some of us live isolated without anyone around us. Some end up on streets, some end up in psychiatry, some live quite normal lives, but some are plagued also by diseases, and probably there are several types of research that they might do on us, or the type of torture, depending on what they can do. If a TI that they choose out has a very strong family, they can't break that apart, because they go after the family first, usually the mother, so that they can destroy the family. And sometimes full families are destroyed like that. And they also have a thing for children. And I must say that the perpetrators are also extremely perverse. And I can't even imagine how somebody would allow a perp to get into a child, for whatever reasons. And it's horrible. And I think that it's not fairy tale, it's real, it's extremely dangerous, it's a technology that should be regulated, and you should be able to go to the doctor or the police, and they should be able to check you out if you are a victim of this technology, because it's so easy to abuse it. It's the perfect crime. Everything is small and invisible. Thank you for watching.
Man, that was pretty interesting to watch. She described everything right to the letter for sure. Let's see what else I can find. Do perpetrators kill target directly? I mean, my perpetrators say that they would upload a consciousness to hell if I didn't. For 2020, I expect them to. Oh wow, that's a really sensitive topic. Check Supreme Court case 18-10134 Stan J. Caterpillar versus the United States Supreme Court remote neural monitoring case, the NSA, along with Mead case. Looks like Annette Violet says hello. Hope everything's going well on your end, Annette. As always, minus the targeting. Let's see what else we can find here. Raytheon Ravenclaw, a torture tool for targeted individuals. Not the first time I've heard of that. Why does it keep scrolling me? Oh, I see. These are repeated posts. Wait, what the? And you are the targeted individual. Huh. You gotta be careful because I think there might be some trolls in the Reddit posts. Always remember, rumors are carried by haters, spread by fools, and accepted by idiots. Okay, that's a good one. Rumors are carried by haters, spread by fools, and accepted by idiots. Now that is a good one. What are we looking up? Well, I've said this earlier in the chat, but I'll say it anyway for those who don't know. If you go to the YouTube and start searching for TIs through there, you get a lot of misleading channels, and you get a lot of stuff that really doesn't take you to the in-depth of newer information as far as like anything as far as shielding goes. Experiences in either that or just other TIs in general, right? So like I decided to go through do a Reddit search to see what I could find, see if I come across some new channels, and so far I've came across at least 2 or maybe 4 new channels and at least a few familiar channels as well. Okay, ultra targeted. Let's see. American Nightmare. That's a targeted case 5. Michael Hastings. I guess we could check that one out. Hopefully it ain't like 2 hours long like some of these other videos were.
Guys, I just found a way to get your paycheck up to 2 days early. Just open a Chime account and set up direct deposit. No more waiting for payday.
Freaking That's why I use Brave.
While I was in the service, I found out that there is an ongoing, non-consensual human experiment, and it's testing a human-machine interface weapon. There's a group here in the United States that are
That's a channel I'm subscribed to, so that's a familiar one. This was 1 year ago from, I think that's a Simulated Reality. Yeah, that's a Simulated Reality. It's a pretty good channel. You guys should check it out whenever you got the time to do that. Let's expand that.
Consenting human subjects for the testing of this weapon, and they're calling themselves Targeted Individual.
We are seeing an alarming rate of complaints of use of electromagnetic weapons, microwave auditory effects, silent sound spectrum, EEG cloning, which has taken the lab out of the laboratory and into the home. Most of these, from the research that we reviewed, can be done remotely. It seems to be more weapons research than medical research. I've personally corresponded with upwards of 1,500 victims, all complaining of identical complaints from every state in the nation.
They're being accused of being crazy. They're being accused of being paranoid and schizophrenic to completely cover up what is in fact a social engineering program and a covert research and development program for some of the most sophisticated and advanced technology that the world has ever seen.
I've worked on projects for the CIA, Justice Department, Department of Defense.
Is this the stuff, voices in the head and things like that?
Yes.
We've run into a few people that claim they got voices in their heads, they sleep inside tinfoil boxes, they do a lot of crazy things, it seems, but when they talk to us, they seem totally normal, they seem totally sane. Are these people crazy, or is the government doing this to them?
The government's doing this to them.
He's not even bothering to hide it.
They're called voice of God weapons.
Obviously, if members of the general public are not aware of the existence of this technology, which many of them are not, most of them are not, they will conclude that this person must be crazy. And as a result, they will recommend psychological evaluation for that person. You can see the way this is going to go. and the way it is going right now. As good people, helpless people that are being abused and tortured and enslaved and experimented upon in America today, American citizens cry out for help from their fellow Americans, and their fellow Americans say, why don't you take some Prozac because we think you're schizophrenic? When this is a highly technical program. All of the symptoms are induced by a technology that is so fucking sophisticated, it is horrifying beyond description.
Yeah, that's a prime example of some of the reason why I'm doing these searches. Like channels like Look Out for Charlie, channels like SHP, channels even like so many others that have came out with really, really good content and really, really good solutions, right? Even T-Lokes, another one, Vulcan Wolverine, so much more that that I can't even name within the span of this video because it would take too long to do so. But a lot of these good channels that actually shows the will of people trying to fight for relief for other people from a lot of this torture, right? It becomes increasingly difficult to find those channels because they try to hide them through the algorithm. Sure, you could type in TI right through that, but I mean, what would you find from that? You would probably get something in the search box in its results under the names of that would be, well, the rapper TI, right? You probably would find something like that. You probably would find some other misleading things as well that are basically just leading into the hinting of the existence of this program, but not going in the in-depth thing to expose who's responsible, who's deploying these perpetrators out there, who's paying them off, who's funding the research, and who's doing all of this despicable activity that has basically plagued the lives of so many.
CIA claims torture works. Now, they're talking about physical torture. Now, no touch torture is a whole new topic, a whole new category. Most people don't believe it's happening. You can be tortured in your own home. No one will believe you.
So the U.S. military, they are actually working on augmented reality and VR right now. Again, it's so funny because the military contacted me and asked if I would help them, and I'm reluctant to do that because I like talking about everything. And it would be top secret, whatever they told me. So it's like, I don't know. I have a lot of ideas, but I don't want to know what you're doing because I only want to know it's public. So this is public, but how they're doing it is not public. But I will tell you, one of the things we'll be able to do is we'll be to outsource functions of our brain. So,
oh, another way you could do that. Here's one. Get the app known as Infrasound. What you would do with that app is it basically logs and times every time that you're getting these negative frequencies that they're sending to you that are causing these electronic attacks, these electronic torture attacks. You can use that, and you can even basically turn on. It has a setting where you can turn on and convert the sound that's basically within the realm, within the frequency of not being able to hear it. You can actually convert it into actual audible sound, so you can actually hear it. I wouldn't recommend using a screen recorder to get it. I would say just get an audio recorder or something, or get another device or whatever. I would highly recommend an audio recorder because you can just say the time and date, and even if you got it configured right, even with the soundtracks being saved, it'll automatically do a timestamp, so you will have it to show that of when that recording was taken, right? So if you ever wanted to hear exactly what they're hitting you with, just get Infrasound. Just get the Infrasound app. It's free, doesn't charge a thing, and you can use that to actually hear exactly what you're hearing with. What was it called? My guesses are so bad in my devices, they change every app. It's called Infrasound. It's literally like a sign of a blue megaphone. Just look for that, and then you'll be able to use that app to log every time that they're hitting you with frequencies, as well as being able to convert that frequency into audible sound to where you can actually hear and record. It'll also give you on the logs. It'll also give you the timestamp of where it started to where it ends. It'll also give you the spectrum of exactly what it looks like, and you can actually offload these things onto a removable storage device to where you can actually have build up with other evidences that you've been gathering up so far.
We'll be able to outsource, we'll be able to upload our memories to the cloud. What they're doing is looking at the pattern in the brain, and then they're matching that pattern, they're putting that into a database. So if you can match the patterns in somebody's brain to the patterns in the database, you can literally start to read their mind. Every time a word comes up, you know it. Oh, that word came up for that individual. Now, will the patterns be identical in every person? Probably not, though the information will be stored in slightly different places. But it wouldn't take long for you to train a machine to read your mind. Now, that's just the beginning. They may be able to have algorithms sophisticated enough, and they get enough samples, enough data, that the AI could actually learn over time what the general rules are for different words, and then you could apply it to anybody.
Remember, we were talking about cloning, brain heterodyning is the actual word, which means modulation of other brain signals within yours. And so they're cataloging and classifying brain patterns, which can be transformed and transmitted into other human beings.
You could literally start to communicate with other people. So my lecture, we could all be standing here silently. And I could just be communicating it to you. I could be talking, you would talk to people, you could literally have conversations with people without ever getting on your phone anywhere in the world. You know, goodbye WeChat or Google Hangouts. We could all just be on our brainwaves, right?
Funny thing of what he just mentioned, when I first got exposed to this stuff, it was through the Domino's Pizza. Someone had added some sort of substance on there, and the first thought that came to my mind that maybe it was just the spiciness of the food, right? Because like it was the way I had ordered it, it had spices on it. I ordered this was from Domino's. SHP has identified that this company is involved with the program, by the way, in case anybody doesn't know. And I had ordered a large barbecue style pizza. It had bacon, some other stuff on there. I really need to stop eating pork products, by the way. That's more of a spiritual reason than a scientific one, though. But I had ordered a large barbecue style pizza, and I had ordered some buffalo wings as well. And they not only had the pizza laced with whatever the stuff was, but the wings too. The thing about this, though, is that it had this static electricity taste to it. It was very unusual, right? So it was the pizza that was spiced with this, and it was the wings that was spiced with this. The next day, after I had consumed that stuff, it was as if like as soon as I took that first bite, it's like my body just was being remote controlled to continue to eat that stuff, right? And I just couldn't stop. The next day, I'm going down from my apartment unit, going down the steps out of the well, not the steps, but down out the elevator, and heading towards the front desk or area to check the mail. And there were these perps walking by saying he ate it, right? He ate, meaning they were hinting at the food that I ate the previous night. I'm going to work, and I'm seeing people dressed in unusual looking clothing that don't look like they'd even worked there. Some of them were mostly dressed in black clothing. Some of them had sunglasses on. They didn't look like they looked like I don't remember even seeing these people before. Out of all the months in the year that I've worked there. And over time, I felt myself being hit with some line of energy, and I could literally, it was so weird, man, because I could feel stuff growing underneath the skin. This happened around my eye sockets. This happened around my shoulders, around my arms, my hips, my back, all kinds of areas. And later on, when I would actually proceed to start detoxing, right, I would feel like there's this substance that's growing between the skin and between both the skin and the meat tissue of my body. So it's like there's a coating or some sort of fungus or something that's growing there. And and it's just like what Tony Pontelesco said, the stuff that we're infected with, it's like it's in layers. The more layers you get rid of, the more relief you're gonna get. The first layer I've gotten rid of this layer more than once. It happened when I drastically changed my diet to where I was eating nothing but vegetables for a whole week. It literally happened within the span of a few days. And I had not only just cut ordinary other food out of my life, I also cut the sugar out too. I started eating other things, but the biggest thing you want to avoid is high fructose corn syrup. Above anything else, stay as far away from that as you possibly can, because that could end up in both food and in beverage.
A computer multiplexer routes the voice signal of the sender through microwave towers to a very specific defined location or cell. The receiver is located and tracked with pinpoint accuracy by their biometrics, DNA, iris, gait, facial recognition, and brainwave patterns. However, the receiver is not a cellular phone. It is the human brain.
This technology can also be used to manipulate the emotions of the target. It can induce fear, love, hate. It can cause you to be nervous. It can cause you to be confident. It can cause you to be depressed. It can cause you to be happy. It can cause you to feel any fucking emotion at any time by artificially inducing them.
Emotions are also data. We could start literally to feel somebody else's pain. And now we say, I feel your pain. We don't really feel their pain. But in the future, we may actually really feel their pain. Like if they're sad, all of a sudden we could tap in, to your wife or girlfriend or boyfriend, and you could be like, oh my God, I feel your pain. I feel your anxiety,
Or commercials.
Your phone is hungry for more fun apps.
What they do is they go and get your garbage in front of your house and get your DNA.
Yes.
And then once...
That's another thing. They will go through your trash, man. They will do that. And they will, like, anything from a fingerprint, anything from a hair, a hair strand or hair follicle, or even dead skin cells, anything like that that contains your DNA, even saliva. They will use that and analyze that to find out how to even increase the targeting. One of the things that I had a suggestion on is, like, whatever trash we have, if it's burnable, just burn it, man. Just incinerate it. Just like build an incinerator and use that. That's probably the best way to kill all that stuff off.
They've got your DNA sequence, they can then go to a supercomputer and they can biocode directed energy attacks that will only go and bioresonate with your body. So that three people can be standing right next to you and nobody's going to feel the harassment except you, because these signals are biocoded to your body's tuning only. And then they can send down D2K, they can send down any symptom they want, because they're in full control of the bioresonance of your bioenergy.
The frequency that's being used, at least in the most advanced forms, that hacks into the mind. Once that frequency hacks into the mind, it has access to the entire mind and the entire body. And so all it's doing is manipulating the electrical signals within the brain. And so by manipulating the electrical signals within the brain, it can make you feel stuff. It can make you feel sensations. It can make you do stuff. It can make you think stuff. What's happening normally is, from my understanding with the most advanced type of this technology, is they are manipulating your brain to be able to feel sensation in other parts of your body. And people will interpret that as a shock, let's say, to your leg. It feels as though someone's shooting you with energy or a frequency or a spark or electricity in your leg, but there's not actually anything being shot at your leg. What's happening is they are manipulating your brain, and then it is causing you, within the part of the brain that deals with touch and sense and feel, it is causing you to perceive that someone is shocking you in your leg, when that's not actually going on. It's just generating that feeling in your mind.
And let me give you...
Sorry about that. Usually when I go into other people's live streams, they have a way to where they can pin a person's comment to where everybody can like see it for a brief, for a little bit of a while or so. I was trying to do that, but I guess that's not really what that's for. I'm gonna keep that in mind. But anyway, I'll just speak out on the topics, some of the interesting topics that are being mentioned in the comments. Okay, so Annette Violet says, let me see if I can scroll up here, if I can find it. She says, hey, I just started a great method. I found one on a website called Earth Clinic. Dude supposedly has cured PP of Morgs, EDTA, and ammonium chloride, 10% solution in distilled water as a spray. That reminds me of something else that I used to do. Long time ago, right? Back when I was in this apartment unit, they had did something on the upstairs floor, and they were pouring some sort of liquid down into the air conditioning unit. And because of what they were doing, it actually started to mold. So I looked up many different ways of many different substances that will kill off mold, right? So I even went as far as getting myself a spray bottle, and I had mixed several different things up in there that would kill this stuff off. It was simply just spray, and it didn't happen naturally. If I was dealing with a room full of radiation, I would get aloe vera plants, and those would naturally absorb the that harmful radiation from the room into the plants, which caused the plants to overgrow to a certain degree. And as a result of that, I was able to heal more too, right? And it wasn't just that. I also got a dehumidifier, not a dehumidifier, but I got a humidifier, and I had mixed some sodium. I think it was like iodized sea salt. I mixed that in with it, and I had I think I had something else in there too. It may have just been an iodized sea salt, but I had that mixing with the water, and that would basically put that within the whole room, right? So because of me doing that, it was another form of detoxing. But let me tell you, they oh man, if even with me doing all of that, I could tell that mold was still growing because I could actually see it even after I had cleaned up. I've cleaned the thing like several different times, but it would just appear again after a while. Not plus to mention, I didn't have anybody to watch my place while I was gone, so that was another problematic experience too. If you're going to be using methods to detox or using methods to fight this stuff, you're going to need somebody there to watch your back. That's just that's just the obvious thing right there for all of us, myself included.
An example that a lot of TIs go through. They will say something like, "I'm stabbing you in the back. Can you feel that?" And the TI will be like, "Yes, I feel that." And then they'll give it a score, okay? How much misery and suffering did that cause? And all that's being done is being played back into the brain, the central nervous system. It's not an actual physical touch. There was no harm being done in terms of the physicality of the individual, but they'll go through these like 3 a day different tortures. Okay, we're gassing your eyes with tear gas, and their eyes will actually tear up. There will be a response, and they'll itch and they can't see, but this is all done through the brain. It's the brain's reaction to these tortures that they're applying back to.
Okay, the whole thing that they don't do any physical harm, that is not true in certain circumstances. I got off of work from the old job I used to work at one evening, and I'm walking down the parking lot of this this large 5-star looking motel or 4-star motel complex, right? And this was called the Renaissance. And I noticed 2 suspicious looking vehicles, one white, one black. Now, there was a group of people in the white colored vehicle. But what was odd is that caught my attention is that they had the engine running, but they had this large looking sun visor in the front. I didn't think much of it until I saw the side of the vehicle, and I noticed that there were people in there, but they were basically putting something up against the windows to hide their identity. So I decided to go around the vehicle, get the license plates of both cars, because I could tell the other one was obviously involved somewhat, because out of all the spaces in that parking lot, those two were parked like right next to each other. As soon as I get the plates, one of the guys gets out of the car. He goes over to the black car, puts on a dark colored hoodie, and he approaches me saying, "Look, I'm not going to hit you. Just please delete the footage," right? So I told him to get away from me. You guys are stalkers. He pretended to use the scripted behavior as if he didn't know what I was talking about. But of course he knows what he's doing. He literally was just acting, they all were acting suspicious. And now they're trying to cover up the dirt, which they did. It's just too obvious. So I believe they were using the level of thought suggestion on me to try to get me to continue walking off because I had to pay my rent at the time. So what I did was I should have just went straight to my apartment because I would have had that video uploaded for you all to see. But instead of me doing that, I decided to go ahead and just continue to go and get this rent paid off because I had to get the money ordered and I had to bring it back to pay it off after I signed it. So as soon as I get out of viewpoint of the cameras in front of the apartment complex, my instincts were going off, telling me to look behind myself. I did, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw this guy sneaking up and creeping up behind me. As to which he immediately ran straight from my phone, trying to snatch it out of my hand and trying to run off with it. Right. No matter. Here's the thing. Keep this in mind. I was bombarded with directed energy for the entire day. I had my energy literally stolen from me, and I had to work a 4-day shift as well as that, while going through the whole workplace mobbing scenario. Right. So I had to endure all of that. You throw that on top of being assaulted and basically a potential opportunity to rob. I was so weak that whatever strength I had was to basically hold on to that device because of the evidence I had on it, right? And I was being drugged along the concrete. My freaking legs got scraped up, my elbows got scraped up, and even parts of my arms too. The guy seemed to be really afraid to not hit me though. Like he did not lay a single finger on me at all, except for trying to get a grasp of that phone, right? And it's still classified as assault. No matter how you look at it, it's still classified as assault, and especially theft or attempted theft. So I eventually was able to build up a little bit of strength, and I headbutted the crap out of this guy. And upon doing that, he gets up. After dragging me, he crunches the screen of the phone and then he runs to the vehicle, the black car that I saw him walk into, grabbing a dark colored hoodie out of. And after that, this car is right in front of the cameras of the apartment complex, literally right in front of it. They could easily get the plates and everything. As soon as I see where he's going, where he's running off to, they immediately just take off. But while I was being assaulted, there was a black colored Jeep that pulled over to my left hand side, and he was shouting out to him, he got something, right? He does that after he crunches up the screen. He ran to the car, like I said before, and then they're just gone. They're just gone. Eventually, I get in touch with family. I'm not even comfortable with even going into my apartment unit at that point. And I eventually get picked up by a cousin of mine who's an obvious perpetrator. But get this, the entire time I'm trying to use a computer at my family member's place to try to at least copy the evidence from the phone onto a removable storage device where I can use it for later or upload it if need be for later purposes, right? For everybody to see as witnesses. My cousin is on the phone with the same dude who freaking assaulted me the entire time while I'm trying to get the data off the phone. I can literally hear this man talking to him about it, and he's saying this blatantly. No, he didn't get it. No, he didn't get it, right? Because unfortunately, in a situation like that, some phones require you to put in either your passcode or press allow for you to extract that data from a phone. And when the screen is damaged, it makes it increasingly difficult. This is why if you have a device, make sure you have a removable storage inserted in there, and make sure you have the settings to actually always create, or should I say always save those files to that removable storage device. So in case anything happens to your phone, or whatever you're using to basically gather evidence, you still have that backed up. You can even use other. I wouldn't recommend cloud services though, because SHP did talk about that, how they use that to actually hack into your devices. So that's another thing you got to keep an eye out for. Not to mention, I believe, I can't remember what this guy's name was, but she's got a channel as well, and he said he used cloud storage clients to store his evidence, and they just went in there and just basically corrupted everything to where it was no longer usable. I think they'll just wait and let you collect a certain amount before it gets to that, right before it gets to that point to where it's, okay, now there's no more just deliberation on this. Obviously, there's some ill intent happening, right? So it's usually like that, at least from what I've seen or whatever.
So the brain feels the pain as if it's real.
That's right. We call it no-touch torture, and so the assumption for most human beings, well, if I don't see blood or mutilation, it can't be that bad. Well, what the brain perceives is far worse than that. In fact, the pains are amplified, sensitized, and are extremely vulnerable to these circuits being stimulated. Torture itself, it's a high stress level. So one of the objectives of torture is to keep them at maximum pain and the highest stress levels possible.
And it breaks my heart to know what's being done to them by some real sick, evil, out of control people who have taken their positions of power and authority and taken advantage of it. They have violated the trust of the American people. They have violated the trust of the stockholders in their companies. They have violated the trust of their co-workers. They violated the trust of their employees. They violated the trust of their family and their friends. They violated the trust of their children. And they violated the trust of all Americans everywhere, and indeed all human beings all over the planet. They have violated that trust by using their positions of power to conceal themselves from scrutiny.
Guys, I just found a way to get your paycheck up to 2 days early. Just open a Chime account and set up direct deposit. No more waiting for payday.
I don't care.
Do you make less than $50,000 a year? If so, you need to pay close attention.
Congress just passed.
Skip.
And then use that veil of secrecy to launch what amounts to an attack on a non-violent American population who are just trying to live their lives and make a living and be happy, love their friends and family, and do the best they can.
So, like any technology, there are great things we could do, and then there are very horrible things that could result from it that are unanticipated. Now, if somebody hacks into your cell phone or your bank account, they can steal your identity. But it's not your real identity. It's more like your money. And that's bad enough, right? That's pretty bad if you get hacked. And they steal your, they do identity theft. But if they're connected, if your brain is connected directly to the internet, then it will be real identity theft. They could take you. They could literally erase you. They could reprogram you in a way without you even knowing it. So you think you're in control of your own will, but it's actually somebody else.
It can literally stop your own thoughts from happening and replace them with other thoughts by sending thoughts to your head. And it's so sophisticated that you cannot tell where these thoughts are coming from. There's no way to discern that they're coming from somewhere other than your own mind. So you can imagine how bad this would be for people that don't even realize this technology exists and are having these thoughts which they think are spontaneous, because being under the influence of this technology now, kind of having been on both sides of it, I am just amazed at the way it works. And I know that the thoughts that they beam into your head originate from the exact same place in your mind that your own natural thoughts originate from. So if I didn't know I was under the influence of this technology, then I would have no idea that anyone was influencing my thoughts at all. And that's exactly what it could be used for. It could be used to sway people in terms of their opinion, to make them go along with a certain agenda. It can be used to turn groups of people or individuals against each other for whatever purpose.
And trust with this technology? Well, apparently not Mark Zuckerberg. He didn't do that good a job at protecting our data. You know, do we trust a government? Do we trust Donald Trump? Who do we trust? Yeah, decentralized, a blockchain, right? You're going to have technology that protects us. Technology which really doesn't exist today, and it has to be so foolproof, and we have to have so much faith in it that we're willing to open up our brains to that potential of being hacked. So, my final slide here is that, you know, our future could go two ways, right? We could literally create heaven on earth. So we are all one giant being, and we are all working in unison, and we are experiencing these amazing things. Or it could be hell, where there's some evil AI or evil people controlling everything we do, and we're more like zombies, you know? Where we don't even know it. Like we think we're free, and we're not actually free.
And I always thought that was a possibility for the future. I'm aware of some of the predictions of the future and the direction the country's going, and it could get really bad. Some horrible things could happen in the future. And one of the things I've been struggling with, trying to wrap my mind around, is that this is not about the future at all. It's happening right now in America today. And it's a goddamn disgrace. What these people have done is turned this technology into a video game. And that is exactly how they approach it. They approach it as though they are playing a cross between Sid Meier's Civilization on their computer and Sims, where they are controlling all of civilization and also controlling people on the individual level. It is infuriating. It is highly, highly illegal, and it must be stopped now.
Oh, wow. See what else I can find. Let's see. Target individuals. Just from the looks of the lighting of that video, that looks fairly old. Target individuals, global public. See what else? Target individuals. Discord, share your thoughts and feel free to talk. First and last video, eh?
What is the Matrix control system? We see a portion of it in the areas of government, military, medicine, finance, media, education, academia, and religion. These institutions engineer our belief systems and way of life. Their hidden architects may include secret societies, elite bloodlines, corporate syndicates, international bankers, government think tanks, and black ops military networks. Some call this the shadow government, the Illuminati, or the New World Order. This social political machinery is what many consider to be the Matrix. But in reality, these things comprise only the outer aspect of the Matrix, the part easiest to see, study, and believe in. They are only the branches, whereas the roots extend deep into the occult, alien, and hyperdimensional realms. To transcend the Matrix, we must understand the parts of the control system that originate beyond the political level of the conspiracy, for they are the avenues through which an immense effort of spiritual warfare is being waged against us. These deeper components include, first, the central brain of the Matrix control system, known by the ancients as the Demiurge. The Demiurge is said to be the soul of the universe. It is the all-pervading energy field that projects matter, energy, space, and time at the quantum level. The Demiurge is a non-physical artificial intelligence that in its original and rightful form fashioned physicality according to the divine will, except it has since broken away from the divine framework and become a parasite upon its own corner of creation, which is the universe we now find ourselves in. The Demiurge has shaped this universe into a cold, deterministic machine, a a construct that perpetuates the illusion of linear time that grinds onward without regard for the consciousness of its inhabitants, and that forces its subjects to live by the law of the jungle. These spiritually suffocating conditions are what allow the Matrix control system to exist. They lead to a mode of living that favors serving self at the expense of others. What was supposed to have been a nurturing womb, a growth matrix for the evolution of consciousness through physical experience, has instead taken on overtones of a spiritual prison. The second component of the Matrix includes all the non-physical beings that have taken after the demiurge. In a realm of limited resources, there will be those who have developed competition, predation, and survival to a high art. Such beings are spiritually dead and cut off from the divine. They look to the living, such as ourselves, for their source of energy and entertainment. The more powerful ones, whom the Gnostics termed archons, may be viewed as the henchmen of the corrupt demiurge. Here on Earth, they preside over a network of negative entities that farm us for our soul energy. This network includes demons, parasitic thought forms generated by human suffering and perversion, as well as ghosts working in the service of demons. They are all non-physical predators that roam around and instigate human suffering at every opportunity, mainly to feed off the soul energy released. They are energy feeders, mind manipulators, and tormentors that play us like fiddles if we are not aware. They can orchestrate misleading synchronicities, create accidents and freak illnesses, insert foreign thoughts and emotions into us during lowered states of consciousness, and they can induce schizoid symptoms in the vulnerable. The third component consists of alien collectives that have manipulated mankind in every way conceivable since the dawn of our species. They have shaped our genetics, history, beliefs, and want full control of our planetary destiny. Unlike demons, aliens are physical or quasi-physical beings who possess superior intelligence, psychic abilities, and technology. Within certain limits, their technology allows them to alter matter, energy, space, and time through the use of demiurgic energies. That is why aliens are architects of the Matrix control system. The fourth component is our own biology, which is largely a product of alien genetic engineering over the eons. Our bodies have been designed so that our perception is limited to only the 5 physical senses, and so that our drives are primarily those of the body and ego. It takes nothing to perceive the physical world, and yet it takes everything to reach up and connect with the spiritual world. By default, the odds are already stacked in the control system's favor. We perceive just enough to graze around the cattle farm, but not so much that we easily find a way out. The fifth component consists of empty or programmed humans through whom aliens, demons, and thought forms can work. People who are not in conscious control of themselves are open to control by something else, whether momentarily or permanently. Almost everyone is susceptible to being momentarily influenced when not paying attention. This includes friends, family, neighbors, co-workers, politicians, authors, or celebrities. The ones who are completely empty or deeply programmed are permanent agents of the Matrix. They function as hired clappers for the control system, or as walking mouthpieces for the alien agenda, or they simply act as background characters that prop up the status quo. Together, these components create a framework of control that exists everywhere around us and within us at all times. What is the Matrix?
In case you're wondering, that's a satanic symbol right there. That star. I believe, I could be wrong, but I think Call for an Uprising mentioned something about a pentagram, or at least calling it a pentagram. But in case you're wondering why that's a satanic symbol, with it being upside down like that, it symbolizes the face of the Baphomet.
It is the totality of forces and mechanisms that aim to keep us spiritually asleep.
It's like that was the end of that video. Blasted commercials.
Why does history keep repeating itself? Why can't mankind get its act together and put an end to physical, financial, and spiritual slavery? Maybe it's because every attempted solution has failed to address some very fundamental human weaknesses. Until these critical flaws are overcome, change will remain superficial as the old problems keep resurfacing. The first weakness is that our perception is limited to only the 5 physical senses. In being unable to see anything beyond the material universe, We are lured into emulating its ways, into acting like animals or machines even though at the core we are spirit. It also blinds us from seeing our occult enemies and the non-physical control structures and energies that they employ. Like an iceberg, most of the Matrix control system is hidden from view. For that reason, humans are like puppets being pulled by invisible strings. Sooner or later, mankind must develop clairvoyant powers. Through proper esoteric training, it will become possible to perform miraculous healing, remote viewing, psychic self-defense, perception and removal of etheric parasites, precognition, telekinesis, probability influencing, telepathy, and quick detection of agent saboteurs. Imagine how significantly this would level the playing field. If we could see beyond the flesh, it would be game over for those psychopaths driven by alien and demonic forces. But for now, mainstream institutions don't even believe in extrasensory perception, let alone try to develop it. You never hear it mentioned by social or political movements either, which goes to show just how deeply our society has been had by the control system. Our second weakness stems from science staying firmly in the realm of physical matter, physical energy, 3D space, and linear time. This holds back the necessary revolutions in technology that would overcome scarcity and environmental destruction. Our primitive technology also makes Earth physically defenseless against alien forces, giving them the strategic upper hand. Therefore, we must move towards a higher type of science that makes use of energies and principles still unexplored by the orthodox. Examples include scalar physics and demiurgic technology, which employs zero-point energy, longitudinal electromagnetic waves, force-free gauge potentials, and etheric energy to accomplish the seemingly impossible. They would allow for free energy, anti-gravity, invisibility, and time travel.
You get access to something like that, and you find a way to basically make an actual functioning force field against all this mess.
Without such technology, the human race will continue being preoccupied with physical survival, competition over dwindling resources, and dependence on the few who control these resources. Our third weakness is ego, the mental parasite that keeps us emotionally invested in the Matrix. It is a foreign installation grafted upon the soul through genetic imprinting and social conditioning. Ego functions as a mortal personality worn by spirit in order to operate smoothly within the Matrix, though at the risk of getting lost within it. When spirit, the core of our being, over-identifies with ego, it takes on its weaknesses and forgets its own purpose. The rider then becomes the horse and can be easily led by the reins. So long as the ego rules our choices, we will always be acting in ways that reinforce the Matrix. We must overcome the tyranny of the ego and establish a personal connection with the spirit, with the higher self. This can be done by recognizing what stems from the ego, what stems from the higher self, and through discipline and introspection always following the higher. Through consistent identification with the higher, it grows in influence over the lower. It becomes more firmly anchored within us until igniting like a star into full manifestation. We can augment that process through a cultivation of intuition, meaningful dreams, synchronicity, and deep contemplation. We can increase the clarity of the connection by nurturing noble feelings such as compassion, beauty, understanding, love, and empathy. Without a connection to spirit, we remain wanderers without compasses and lamps without fire, lost in the darkness as so many currently are. The fourth weakness is ignorance, stupidity, and naivete, which keep us from making informed decisions. Deception succeeds only when invited in by lack of awareness. Mankind's problem is not so much the forces who seek to control it, but the scourge of public ignorance that sustains and regenerates these forces. Therefore, we must increase awareness through a combination of study, observation, experience, contemplation, and most of all, revelation. This requires a deep love for truth and learning. We must train our intellects without compromise and become very familiar with logical fallacies and the spiritual warfare strategies used against us.
I had did something similar to that before, but it wasn't with this channel, it was with my other one. I had basically walked around with a sign, but I waited until the smear campaign started. I walked around with the sign and I had brought it out of hiding, and I had a lot of target individuals' channels listed on that sign. And I even mentioned that the whole epidemic thing, you know what I'm talking about, was actually people were being deceived. I had it all basically worded out and everything, and because of me having that, I even went out and started actually actively protesting. I didn't film it, but I did it to where enough where people could hear me, but I didn't do it in an aggressive like manner. And they actually they had a freaking shop clerk use intimidation tactics, right? So he walks in front of me while I'm walking down an aisle, and he says, "Oh yeah," he's looking at whoever he's talking to, saying, "Oh yeah, the police are on the way," and then he just walks off. They never showed, but it was a threat that basically for me to keep my mouth shut because they didn't want everybody to know what was really going on. When you're able to basically take their smear campaign and convert it in a way to where it basically advertises the truth, and you're able to reach more and more people that way, that is how you basically bring awareness to this problem. It's not easy to do it though, because as soon as you start walking around with something that obviously exposes this stuff for what it is, they're probably going to run countermeasures against that.
The intellect is not something to throw away in favor of the heart. Rather, both should be developed in parallel and brought to perfection. The more informed we are, the smarter our decisions. And the smarter our decisions, the better our future. And the fifth weakness is humanity's unquestioned faith in consensus reality. Consensus reality is the way that mainstream society perceives the world, the way it works, what every individual must do to survive in it, what is permissible and what is impossible. It is the map drawn by the Matrix to chart our course through life. We are taught to assume that the rules and limitations of the many apply to us without exception. We must disentangle ourselves from consensus reality. This will only happen when we begin living by the principles of a secret divine reality that exists around and within us. Which jurisdiction you enter depends on where you are positioned on the sliding scale between ego and the higher divine self. It depends on where you place your root assumptions, your emotional center point, or your mental dwelling point. By entering the jurisdiction of the higher, we overcome the authority of the lower. What the mainstream deems foolish, risky, or impossible then becomes the norm. Anomalies and miracles become the new reality. The only way to beat a rigged game is to play by a different set of rules. These unquestioned vulnerabilities all stem from the same fundamental problem, that of spirit being overcome by the darkness of the material universe. The transcendence we seek is not about escape and avoidance. It is about the mastery of the higher over the lower. The real solutions are rooted in the above, whereas the weaknesses arise from below. We cannot defeat the below using only the tools and methods of the below. Attempting to do so merely replaces one control system with another. And that is why all human revolutions, social experiments, and utopian attempts have failed, for they have ignored the fundamental problems I've outlined. These weaknesses reinforce each other. Where three are overcome, the other two eventually produce defeat. All must be overcome together if mankind is to permanently secure its freedom. If the human race as a whole cannot do it, maybe the rest of us can. We shall accomplish it through the mastery of spirit over the mind and mind over matter.
Buy when there's blood in the streets.
More commercials.
Even if the blood
More
is your own.
commercials. Okay, this is like 14 minutes and 52 seconds long. After this one, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. I'd say thank you to everybody who has joined this far and everything. I hope you all are having a wonderful day. Same thing goes for your families and friends and all that. I hope everybody's in good health and all that. And then I hope everybody's having a good day, as always, minus the targeting.
If you have ever synchronistically manifested something that you wanted in life, you know that consciousness can influence reality. Many have tried putting this principle to use by using focused visualization methods per the law of attraction teachings to try and manifest their desires, but that's a rather limited application. Because what many don't realize is that our consciousness doesn't shape reality only during emotionally charged focused visualizations. It shapes reality constantly according to the very quality of our being. In fact, you don't even need to do anything specific in terms of visualization exercises or meditations to influence reality. All you have to do is be who you are right now, and to varying degrees, life will reflect the nature of your being. Now, there's an actual physics behind how this works, which I'll cover in a future video about imaginary space-time and the Feynman path integral formula.
No, Annette, you're fine. Don't worry about it. That's actually what I want is for people to be able to make that general connection, because a lot of us do get isolated because of the experience from the targeting. So it's good to have that connection, even if it's just through a chat, you know?
Of quantum mechanics. But for now, if you think of time like a river, then not only do we move forward along that river, we also drift vertically at different depths between different currents or time streams. So the river of time is actually a bundle of interwoven time streams, each representing a certain theme of experience. Near the top of the river there's light, meaning peace, harmony, and serendipity. Near the bottom there's darkness, meaning pain, suffering, and obstacles. Which time stream you personally access depends on the vibrational resonance spectrum of your soul, the deeper parts of your consciousness. This resonance spectrum determines which time streams or probable futures you exchange energy with and thereby attract. So by changing your being, meaning the qualitative aspect of your consciousness, you change your stream of experience in life. Many people who study the law of attraction miss this point. They think it all depends on what they do during a visualization session, when in reality what matters most is who they are the rest of the day. So it's definitely a good idea to work on transforming your being from a lower state to a higher state. But is it enough to just wear a smile all day and avoid negative thinking? Well, not exactly, and the reason is that surface level thoughts and feelings are not what cause synchronistic attraction. Rather, what matters is the deeper subconscious foundation from which these thoughts and feelings arise in the first place. It's about who you are at the subconscious level that pivots you between different time streams. It's about what you emotionally resonate with and are drawn towards. It's about what you take to be reality, your root assumptions regarding the way life works, your unquestioned beliefs, your overall mood and mindset and outlook on life. As we all have seen ourselves, different people respond differently to the same situation. Some get amused, others get angry, some react with understanding and others with blame. Some rise to the challenge and others shrivel up. So, like different objects making different sounds when struck in the same way, how each of us responds and reacts to life says something about our personal consciousness resonance spectrum. And it's precisely this resonance that determines which probable futures we energize and attract.
One thing I will add to this, usually I try to heighten my spiritual vibrations. I use this via right frequencies that promote and resonate more positive vibes, and some of them that douse the negative ones too.
The problem, however, is that for so many people, the way they are is all they've ever known, all they believe there is, and all they secretly want and subconsciously resonate with. Like a sound or smell that's always there, it merges into the background and therefore becomes hard to notice and hard to do something about. That's one reason why people tend to stay locked into their time stream and keep attracting the same experiences, even if on the everyday conscious level they wish for better. Because conscious wishing isn't the same as subconscious being. If you just put on a token smile and half-heartedly try to think happy thoughts, but deep down you're the same as always, well, life will remain the same as always. If you're full of inner turmoil and reactivity, and try to suppress that instead of resolving it, all you're doing is putting a lid on a pressure cooker while staying in the same time stream. And so when life inevitably throws more of the same at you, you end up exploding. That's why the priority must be on pivoting yourself at the very root of your consciousness, the foundation, the axis of your inner world. Because it's by turning around your inner world and changing your very nature that you turn your life around. The first step to doing that is recognizing what state you're in and when it actually changes for real. Otherwise, you can either fool yourself into thinking you've changed. Do you really rise to a higher level, or are you just going back into a neutral state without, or have you fallen into a negative state that needs a correct event. How would you know for sure? Well, here are signs that consciousness has actually shifted. 1. State normalized. That means you don't have to. It feels like your new center of gravity, mode of being, wells up on its own from you and drives your feelings. You don't even have to try. It's who you are now. The previous state fades. When you think back on it, it feels foreign and distant, like you can't identify with it anymore, like it's another person. You can sort of recall what it was like, but more at arm's length, like you're watching. 3. Your priorities change. Many of the things that you were preoccupied with before now lose their importance, and things you didn't care for before have taken on new meaning. 4. Your perceptions change. You notice things about people, about your surroundings, about life, that you didn't notice before, and what you used to notice all the time, you don't really pay attention to anymore. 5. People act differently towards you. The types of people you attract, the way they look at you, how warm or cold they are towards you, these all undergo a transformation. 6. Your emotional reactions change. Since you view the world through a different lens, you no longer react the same way to life. So the character of your emotional responses changes. Old patterns of feelings become harder to access, and new feelings come more easily. That's actually your soul's resonance spectrum changing. And 7. Synchronicities and dreams change. You experience a change in synchronicity in your life, in terms of their types, their meanings, their intensity, and how often they occur. The quality of your dreams may change too, since dreams are primarily an expression of the subconscious, and it's the subconscious that changes here because it's a doorway to the deeper levels of your being. Now, these 7 indicators apply whether you're in a positive, negative, or neutral state of being. Let's have a look at some examples of each. So, in a positive state, you experience more positive synchronicities in life. Life can become weird, but in a good way. Reality bending in sometimes miraculous ways. And your dreams become more meaningful, more enlightening, and enjoyable. You're naturally more buoyant, resilient, and good-natured. There's a general sense of ease, assuredness, and harmony. So when you are in a higher time stream like this, you attract positive people, and people in general are friendlier towards you. You may even notice, with people you know, that things are suddenly going better for them in their lives, which is the possibility that when you interact with someone, you're actually interacting with whatever probable version of them you fit into. Another sign that you're in a positive state, you find more meaning in the little things and receive more insight to ponder big things in life. You become more curious, more creative, insightful, active, and poised. You become more sensitive to beauty, color, symmetry, meaning, and the oneness in all that you produce. Everything feels more alive, more vibrant, and music sounds more. And instead of reacting blindly to lessons, you actively turn within and introspect and learn from your experiences. So when everyday problems or provocations arise, your response is one of good-natured understanding and lucid clarity. Now, people who are in a lower state mistakenly believe they're in a higher state. They're all fine so long as nothing bad is happening. But the moment they are tested, their true nature comes out, and that serves as an indicator that they do their approach. Alright, so state is one of higher consciousness, of being more in resonance with your spiritual core essence and divinity. It's about strength, awareness, and spiritual refinement. And that's the exact opposite of the negative state, which is mired in reactivity, hostility, and limiting beliefs, illusions, self-destruction, materialism, or animal instincts. See, the lower one goes within the river of time, the more strange and negative things get. For starters, there's an increase in accidents, illnesses, and misfortunes. Dreams tend to be more stressful, more disgusting, or demonic. Even synchronicities take a turn for the dark via bad omens, warning signs, and symbolic catastrophes in life. One tends to attract people who are either hostile towards you or draw out your hostility against them. Life rarely goes smoothly in this state, and it's taken as a given that the good things in life must be fought for and taken. It's the law of the jungle. In the negative state, one sees only what's ugly, bad, threatening, or exploitable in others and the world. There's a gritty, dark, cold gray feel to life. These lower time streams are dominated by those with strong predator or prey mentalities. Both find themselves there and feed into each other. Those on the predator end of the spectrum have a demonic, the mindset of a destroyer. Anyone with good intuition or street smarts can identify such types pretty easily. And those on the prey end of the spectrum have a deep victim mindset and persecution complex. They feel like the world is out to get them. Unfortunately, in the more extreme cases, their lives can become waking nightmares when they're preoccupied 24/7 with threats, whether it's gang stalkers or alien abductors or government agents or whoever the antagonist happens to be. Their personal reality melts down into a hellish nightmare filled with paranormal and other unusual threats around every corner. It's not all just in their heads. It's very real sometimes, but reality itself changes depending on what time stream you're tuned into. But what they don't realize is that they are actually attracting and amplifying such nightmarish experiences because they are subconsciously resonating at a very low frequency that locks them into those lower time streams. They are continually affirming and reinforcing the assumption that this nightmare is what reality is all about. That's the root belief that they don't question, and so they stay locked into it. If they were to snap out of it and shift to a higher state of consciousness by dropping the fear and victim mentality, guaranteed 90% of the nightmare would evaporate because they'd be shifting to a higher time stream well beyond the easy reach of the dark forces that rule the lower levels. That's why it's so important to recognize when any of this starts happening, so that you can turn around and get back on a higher time stream. Alright, now these two sets of examples, the positive and the negative, they serve to illustrate what happens when your soul resonance is so high or so low that your reality becomes highly unusual in either direction. The fact is, however, that most people won't experience either of those extremes because the resonance spectrum puts them somewhere in the middle, in the more neutral or mundane time streams. Ordinary consciousness locks you into an ordinary reality. If you get virtually no synchronicities, no improbabilities, and nothing weird or magical happens other than the usual ups and downs in life, you're definitely in this neutral, mundane state of being. Now, neutral doesn't mean you're empty, apathetic, or emotionless like a robot. It just means you're living a life within the parameters of what's considered normal. Normal emotions, normal reactions, normal thoughts, normal interests, normal reality. It's when you shift into an extraordinary state of being that you shift into an extraordinary reality. Now, in practice, throughout the weeks and months, we drift around a certain baseline in terms of our personal time stream, sometimes drifting a little higher, sometimes a little lower. This is due to many factors including astrology, biorhythms, and what behavioral patterns you choose to engage in and reinforce. If you choose to stay above that baseline long enough, then that higher state becomes the new baseline, and both your inner nature...
The YouTuber who is talking is, I don't know if you can see it there, but the name of the channel is Tom Mon Talk. TOMMONTALK. All one word. Just look that up and then you'll be able to find his channel.
And your outer life undergo permanent change. And that's the depth of change that we need to be aiming for. So as you can see, consciousness does influence reality, but the implication of that goes way beyond just trying to manifest your desires using law of attraction rituals. The bottom line is that the physical universe is an expression of a universal field of consciousness of which our own consciousness is a part. And so the root of our being is connected to the root of reality. The inner and outer world are closely linked, and by changing your very being, you change your very existence.
Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. I hope everybody enjoyed this. Stay safe, and as always, stay strong. Oh wow, it's not. Seriously? Maybe I gotta. Maybe I gotta back out of that and then try. It's like it doesn't. That is so bizarre. It's like it doesn't want to stop. What? It just keeps going. This thing, I don't know if they did something, but I'm not even able to stop the live stream. Wow. Overlay during a broadcast. Well, this is an unfortunate state of events. I guess I got no choice.